She's got an old man chin. She always looks like this. Yes, you do, huh? Oh my god, look how cute you are. You're so cute. Oh my gosh, you're so cute. I'm gonna kick you out though, because you keep messing with stuff. Okay? There you go. Hello, good evening. My name is Molly. This is Mercurial Vellum Astrology. That is what I decided to call it. That is what I came up with. If you'd like a detailed, probably very long-winded explanation of what that actually means or how I came up with it, let me know if you'd like to know that. Otherwise, I will spare you the extra 27 minutes that it would take me to discuss that. I've got allergies. My nose is like super itchy, so if I keep going like this, that's why. If I keep sniffling and coughing, that's why. I'm allergic to life. So, what I want to focus on in this video is the planet Uranus, and it is, so astrologically, we are on the cusp of like a very significant time period. We are facing a bunch of the outer planets are going to be shifting into new signs very soon, all around the same time. So it's kind of like the end of an era, the ushering in of a bunch of new energies. At the moment of filming this, which it is Friday, November 21st, it is 3 p.m. where I am, and so the positions of the planets in the sky right now, I like to go over a couple of them really quick. So we do have a Sagittarius moon in 17 degrees 42 minutes. We also have the sun in Scorpio. It is right at the end of Scorpio because we're moving into Sagittarius tomorrow. So we are in the anaretic degree of Scorpio at the moment. It is 29 degrees 51 minutes, so it's a new moon, and we've got Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio, Mars in Sagittarius, Jupiter retrograde in Cancer, Saturn in Pisces in retrograde, Uranus in Taurus in retrograde, Neptune retrograde in Pisces at the 29th degree as well, and so is Uranus. Uranus is in the 29th degree as well. Pluto is in 1 degree Aquarius right now. So that's a lot. But what I want to actually get into is the planet Uranus. So if we go like way back, Uranus was discovered in 1781 by English astronomer William Herschel. Uranus has a lot of really interesting and unique characteristics. Like, it's got this side tilt to it, so because of that, it actually has really bizarre seasons. It experiences about 42 years of constant sunlight and then 42 years of constant darkness. So honestly, that sounds really cool to me. I would love the 42 years of darkness. But anyways, it was named after the Greek sky god, who happened to be Zeus's grandfather and father of Cronus. So, of course, he had some drama going on in his life, like every single Greek character does. And he was the husband of, but also the son of the Earth Mother, named Gaia. And if I keep saying Gaia or Gaia, it's because I have a cousin named Gaia, and actually she says it like Gaia. That's how they've always said it since the 70s. So I just naturally I might keep saying Gaia instead of Gaia, but that is what how I've just always been used to saying it. He was the husband of, but also the son of the Earth Mother. So together they fathered the 12 Titans, the Cyclopses, all of those. And then there was drama between him and his wife, Gaia, because in their offspring, apparently he just hated them. So the youngest one, Kronos, went on to castrate Uranus himself. And the blood that fell from the castration was what created the other beings. And then they also said that that was like the cause for the separation between the sky and the earth, because he was the sky, Gaia was the earth. So basically the divorce. So, and the body parts, okay, from this castration. So they floated along in the sea, mixed with the sea foam, and then from that sprang forth Aphrodite, the goddess of love. I don't know why I had to get so bloody and dramatic. I mean, it's the Greeks, so yeah. But that's the myth anyways. So here we are now. So Uranus, that's what Uranus is named after, is kind of like a primordial type of, one of the first gods ever. So anyway, it was discovered during a time in the Western world where we just had a lot of influential and historical revolutions going on. This was halfway between the start of the Revolutionary War and the French Revolution, which included the famous Reign of Terror with all the guillotines and all of that stuff. So Uranus, because we found it at that time, we associate it with upheavals, revolutionary energy, drastic changes, liberation, big light bulb moments, epiphanies, and modern technological advancements too, and technology in general. So it also rules the areas of our lives where we may be unconventional or eccentric, or even just strange, weird, basically almost contrarian. So whatever's normal, Uranus kind of rules what's not normal. And then it even goes so far as like, if your normal is normal, or if your normal is not normal, then Uranus would rule what is considered conventional. It's kind of contrarian like that. So that's kind of what Uranus represents in astrology, because it's an outer planet. It does affect us on a personal level, but it really kind of rules our generational patterns. So Uranus can be highly influential, or when we're talking about like the breaking of chains or long-standing traditions, the chains can be a lot of different things. Besides traditions, it can be restrictive patterns, it can be cultural restrictions or ideals, and because Uranus is an outer planet, he represents the generational patterns of all the people that were born during the same time we were, but also like humanitarian and social issues. Also, technological advancements tend to relate to each generation. So as the planet takes about 7 years to in each sign. So it's a slow moving outer planet, and it has that generational energy, but it also has the lower or the smaller octave of being, it can be a personal planet when it comes to higher intelligence or higher self or higher intuitions. So the loftier blueprints of the universe, like what the higher power, whatever higher power you believe in, the universe or God or whichever God or goddess you believe in, what they may have set for us that we are not aware of, or that we're just becoming aware of. So those are some things that Uranus tends to, you'll find Uranus when these things are being shooken up a bit. And then the house in which Uranus is in your personal birth chart, that is where you may see Uranus's energy attempting or needing to break things up, or cause a little chaos, or areas in your life where you would like to break some chains or be set free in some way, or where you would need that energy to come in and kind of shake things up a little bit and stir the pot, basically. So the pattern thus far, I will put a little graphic right here on my lovely ribbons screensaver. We've had Uranus in Taurus from May 15th, 2018 until July 7th, 2025. Then it entered Gemini on July 7th, 2025. So Uranus was in Gemini for this little sneak peek from July 7th, 2025 until November 7th, 2025. Then it retrograded back into Taurus for now. And it remains there right now in the anaretic degree, the 29th degree at the moment, until it moves back into Gemini April 25th, 2026. So we did get this little glimpse of what the energy feels and tastes like in Gemini with Uranus for a few months. And then when Uranus goes back into Gemini in April of 2026, it's going to remain there until May 22nd, 2033. So we're going to learn what this energy feels like and what effects it has on our lives during this time. And I believe it's going to be very life-changing. What I like to think about, though, is the last time that Uranus was in Gemini. And the last time that Uranus was in Gemini was from 1941, 1942. It did the thing it's doing right now where it goes back and then... But let's just say 1942 to 1949, okay? So, I mean, this was a hugely significant time in world history and Western history. The beginning of the Cold War, the end of World War II, all of the, the computer, the atom bomb, all these things. We went from, we developed technology at an exponential rate. There was a lot of strangeness going on with world events, with militaries, with war, and with technology. We did, and television. We had the rise of television during that time too. Communication, which Gemini rules communication and information exchange, being ruled by Mercury, and Uranus being ruled by Aquarius. So very influential and strange time. I've been thinking about how that period of time from around 1942 to 1949 was very much like the modern birth of the modern UFO phenomenon. An insane amount of things happened during that time that were extremely influential, at least as far as what we officially know, okay? So I just want to go over, I made a little list really quickly. So we had the Battle of Los Angeles, which was 1942. That lasted hours and hours over LA. There were huge, slow-moving UFOs going over Los Angeles. and they were illuminated by spotlights. And the media talked about it. The military got involved. The military fired into the sky for hours using anti-aircraft artillery. So that was a pretty big event as far as the modern UFO phenomenon is concerned. We also could go back to the Foo Fighters, World War II pilots, those glowing balls of light that were following aircraft, and I believe they were following both Allied and Axis. They seemed to go against known laws of physics at the time, so it kind of like was one of those precursors for now that we're seeing these things like in the military whistleblowers talking about crafts moving at different physics levels. That's kind of like, this is kind of one of the first times that we heard that was during, would have been 1941-ish to 1945 was around when the Foo Fighters were seen. We also had like the ghost rockets in Scandinavia. Never explained. Swedish military investigated it. We had 1947 was like the big year. So the Kenneth Arnold sighting was 1947. That was near Mount Rainier. That's kind of close to my stomping grounds. And I had a lot of water references with UFOs. Then we had the Maury Island effect, or what am I saying? Then we had the Maury Island incident. That was a UFO sighting in Washington State. It left a lot of strange stuff behind. That was a big moment where one of the biggest first times that we heard about Men in Black. If you ever decide to dive into the Maury Island incident, it is very interesting. I don't believe it was a hoax at all. There's a lot of really interesting parts to that story. And then we had this wave of sightings across the United States during the summer of 1947. I mean, like hundreds and hundreds of reports. Newspapers were publishing stories constantly. It kind of forced the Air Force. They started Project Sign, supposedly because of the summer of 1947. Stop me if you heard this one before, but Roswell. The Roswell incident was July 1947. Roswell, New Mexico. The Air Force did at first say they recovered a flying disc. Then a lot of people probably know kind of what happened after that. They retracted it. There's been, even to this day, people are fascinated by the site and try to get close to it. And it was later tied to Project Mogul. We also had a bunch of stuff going on in 1948. It just was like literally like this boom of UFO activity during this period of time. The last time that Uranus was in Gemini. We had a pilot in Fargo, North Dakota, had the Gorman incident. It was kind of a chase involving a glowing sphere. The pilot had this glowing sphere kind of like chase, like and engaged for up to like a half an hour. We had the green fireballs in New Mexico. It was supposedly investigated quite heavily. And because of all of this, we then had Project Sign, which was done started in 1948. It was the first official U.S. Air Force UFO investigation. 1949, we had the Norwood Searchlight UFO. We had Project Grudge begin in 1949. We had the Aztec UFO story. A lot of these events, the massive spike in UFO reports, sightings, investigations. We had the Project Project Sign in 1947, and then Project Grudge in 1949. So the third official investigation program was Project Blue Book. So a lot of what happened from early 1940s through 1949 was part of why Project Blue Book came about. But we also had the 1952 Washington, D.C. White House UFO event where the UFOs flew over the White House for a while, and it was in the newspapers. Like, people just talked about it, and that's a little after Uranus left Gemini. But we also had the Cold War fears going on, so the military essentially, the Air Force essentially decided to begin their third official investigation program, and that was Project Blue Book. So that's kind of what there was also the Mantell UFO crash in 1948. I forgot about that one. That was a captain that died chasing a UFO in his fighter jet. I can make this like a 17-hour video if I just like skim the surface of things. But my point here, supposedly Project Blue Book ended in 1970. But we've had a lot of modern Pentagon UFO whistleblowers about the dark budget agency stuff going on, and essentially that just can go on and on. But what I'm trying to get at here is the last time that Uranus was in Gemini, we had this phenomenon, the birth of this phenomenon, the modern UFO sighting phenomenon. It's got a lot of interesting ramifications with legislation and budgets and laws and foreign policy with Cold War and all of that. But what I'm getting at is, my prediction is that we will, now that Uranus is going back into Gemini again, 80 something years later, I think we're going to see increasing UFO themes, but on a higher octave. And I think that we will see communications with other life forms that we are not currently super comfortable or familiar with. I think it'll make us feel like we've stepped out of where we come from and we're in a new, like a sci-fi world. I think there's going to be a renaissance of technology, even more exponential than what we've been experiencing in the last 30 years, which is saying a lot. And outer space and knowledge and how we acquire that knowledge. And the internet is going to be a huge part of this. Social media and the ability to report real-time personal experiences to the entire world. It's like we have this cheat now. We don't have to get things pushed through media. We are the media. And that's also it's also like holding hands with the transformation aspect of Pluto going into being an Aquarius now, the power shifting back to people from these structures. It's being restructured, dissolved, and there's a new form going on. So I think that's what we're going to have to look forward to between 2026 and 2033 while Uranus is in Gemini. As far as like transhumanism stuff, I go back and forth on a lot of that stuff. So I think a lot of it will come to pass, though. I think a lot of it will come to pass. The birthing of it, or the actual culmination of a lot of it, is going to start during this next 7-year period. I could see us reaching basically what they're calling the technological singularity. I could see some version of that happening, maybe a little different from what they're saying it's going to be, but I think we can make massive strides towards ending death as if death was a disease and not a natural process. So I think we are going to shift from seeing death as like this natural, inevitable thing, like, well, death is part of life, to like, death is this problem, a disease we need to fix or cure or eliminate. I think we're going to make really big strides towards that with this increasing of technology, with humanitarian aims, and I think that Pluto being in Aquarius is going to be a really big part of that as well. Pluto is about descending into the underworld and then rising back up, necromancy and rebirth and transformation and death and power, and Aquarius is very humanitarian and technological. So all of those energies working together, I could see death being treated as a disease that we need to conquer or stave off for as long as possible. I mean, we're going to see, we're going to likely see increasing unrest, more war, probably a form of worldwide little civil wars in every region, and little revolutions everywhere, each country kind of having its own little pocket of revolutions. This is extremely, this is Pluto in Aquarius, and it's about power shifting back to people from old power structures. And that is, I believe, why we're already seeing a ton of revolutionary activity pretty much everywhere right now. Insane, really amazing and interesting revolutions going on right now everywhere. So Uranus and Pluto, but Uranus is what I was trying to mainly talk about, is definitely going to give us some new shifts to think about. And I think sometimes we're going to look at it and go, is this like a movie? Like, is this real? I think it's going to be, some of it's going to be shocking. Some of it's going to be like very hard to process and shift into. But it's going to be influencing us in so many innovative and fascinating ways. And there's really nothing that we can do to stop it. You can resist a lot of these things, but it will leave you in the past, and it will maybe not be for your best, and maybe it will. We're going to have to see when that comes. I know lots of astrologers are making very big predictions right now about a lot of things. I just feel the energy that's coming. I feel it like very different. Like it's going to be a whole new world, basically. And that's just what I feel. I very well could be wrong, but I'm kind of seeing that in a lot of things and in dreams. And I think that we are given this little moment right now before all of this shifts, so that we can kind of ground ourselves and reflect and go, okay, what is, like, are we ready for what's about to happen? Because I don't know that any of us are actually ready for it. But do you have your basics covered, I guess? Like, and it could be literally as basic as, like, do you have your food and water and essentials covered? Like, there's some very interesting ways this could turn. it's going to be intense because of what the other outer planets are doing with it. So I'm excited. I think this is probably one of the most interesting times to be alive, that you could be alive if you got to choose. So that's about all I'm gonna talk about right now, and you have a wonderful rest of your week or month or however long it is until I come back. I've just been really busy. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. You have a good one. Bye. Energy that